Lilith in Taurus is the sensual goddess. It is a body that is driven by pleasure and really stopping to smell the roses and taking their time with things and moving at their own pace. All Taurus energy is kind of embodying that. But when we're talking about Lilith, we're talking about the most kind of basic form of the goddess, the most instinctual form of divine feminine energy, which is about being rather than doing, and following that drive of the senses of the body. And it's no more emphasized than it is in Taurus, which is naturally already this. It is an earth sign. It is ruled by Venus, so it has that desire for pleasure and desire to connect with the physical earth, and is very much driven by the senses. So we're talking taste, we're talking touch, smell, and sound. I am a Lilith Taurus person, and I do a lot with embodied movement and essential oils because it really allows me to express my body in a way that's accepted, in a way that's seen, in a way that sometimes I do get judged for, and sometimes people are like, well, we get Lilith people are always experiencing guilt and shame and blame for expressing it, because we are not in our society is made for things that are logical and fit into certain boxes, and Lilith never does that. Lilith is always about just being and not necessarily thinking things out before acting. It's not that they're impulsive, and thinking, especially Lilith and Taurus, is not going to be very impulsive, but it's about processing things through the body and moving with them. So when we're talking about, again, those pleasures of the senses, taste, so it's food, it's what kind of food do we enjoy? And then we see the flip side of that. We see the guilt and the shame around, especially in our culture, which is so focused on diet and what we're supposed to eat and what we're not supposed to eat. Lilith and Taurus people really need to choose the food that feels right to them and not follow fad diets, because their bodies are going to know. And when they're not, a Lilith and Taurus person is not paying attention to the kinds of food that makes their body feel good. And when I say good, there's pleasure, and pleasure is 100% a true and valuable thing to get from food, but it's also nutrients. And so what gives me energy, what gives me vibrancy, what brings me joy, all of those things are important for Lilith Taurus people. Of course, they're important for everybody, but again, it's an emphasis on the Lilith Taurus people, and they're much more likely to be shamed for their food choices because they don't necessarily fit whatever diet fad culture thing is being fed to them at the time. So in addition to that, we can experience a lot of guilt around pursuing our pleasures and going after them and finding the joy and finding the physical experiences and that sensuality that Taurus, Lilith, and Taurus people really crave. They need to take their time with things. So another key aspect of all Taurus energy is that they need to move at their own pace. Sometimes they're going to go faster, sometimes they're going to go slower, but they need to just chill and allow things to come to them and allow their process to happen. So Lilith in Taurus people may be called lazy sometimes and may feel the need to suppress that, or they may feel that they're being pushed into somebody else's agenda, into someone else's timeline. I think about a friend of mine who we enjoy a lot of pleasures together, but we both share this Lilith and Taurus. It's actually right on top of each other, and there's often this push and pull and challenges around time with this, about who is infringing on the other person's time. Are we appreciating each other's time? Are you giving too much? And the fear that somebody is trying to control you, the fear that somebody is trying to make you do stuff not against your will, but against the timeline and the flow that makes sense for you. And so that's when that kind of rage and that anger, and it did. If you watch my on my playlist, you can hear a little bit more about that. There's one specifically about hurting people and getting over it and, and stuff like that on my being Lilith thing, and it gets more into what was going on in that situation. But it is about feeling your own time, and not, because it will erupt, it will turn into rage, it will turn into um because you feel like you're being oppressed because your time isn't doesn't feel like your own. Very important for Lilith. Lilith again, is definitely important for Lilith Taurus people. And then they can be called lazy. You can be called, but it's not laziness. It's simply following your own path and your own needs. Lilith in Taurus people do need more rest than other people. Their bodies need time to sit still. The previous video I did was Lilith in Aries, which is fiery and movable and excitable and energetic. Very different Lilith energy in Aries. It's Mars driven, it's action driven. Lilith in Taurus is luxury driven. It's again, it's simplicity, it's pleasure. And so they need their rest. They need the sensual pleasures. They need the physical they need physical outlets to enjoy themselves, to enjoy others, to touch, taste, sound, sex, food, rest, sleep. These are all things that are about indulging the Lilith in Taurus. What can happen is if you're not getting enough of one of those things, if you're not getting enough physical intimacy and touch and pleasure from the body, if you're not getting the foods that feed you and nourish you and that you enjoy, if you're not getting the rest and the sleep you want, if you're not getting one of those things, you may find yourself overindulging in one in order to overcompensate for what you're not getting. So it's important that we don't have any guilt around allowing ourselves to experience all of those things, again, all of those pleasures without guilt, without shame, because then they again manifest in overindulging often in one of those areas. The other thing that they can manifest in is thyroid issues in ear, throat, neck, shoulders. We get a lot of tension, so you need to relax the shoulders, and you need to touch and massages. They're so good for Taurus energy, any Taurus energy, but especially Lilith and Taurus. So please, if you're looking for more information on Lilith, check out my video, which kind of talks about Lilith in your astrological chart overall. And then there is all through the signs right now. There will eventually be all through the houses. And then I have my Being Lilith sort of video blog that I made about a year ago about some of my own experiences as a Lilith person. And then of course you can always book a reading with me to do energy work, astrological work on and understanding your own Lilith. So I hope this helps. Have a great day.